You know, it's funny. You can live surrounded by millions of people and still feel completely alone. That's what the city did to me. Every day, the noise, the rush, the endless chasing of things that didn't mean a damn thing. Deadlines, phones, lights that never went dark. I had everything people said would make me happy, and yet I felt empty. Some nights, I'd just sit by the window, watching the traffic blur into streaks of red and gold. And I'd wonder when I'd stopped hearing my own thoughts, when I'd stopped being me. So one cold morning, before the world woke up, I packed my truck. No big plan, no destination, just a sleeping bag, an axe, a stove, and Ranger. He was watching me from the doorway, still as stone, like he already knew what I was about to do. When I opened the truck door, he jumped in without hesitation. Didn't need an explanation, didn't need words, just trust. That's the thing about dogs. They don't care where you're going, as long as they get to walk beside you. We drove north, past the towns, past the power lines, until the road disappeared under snow. The world got quieter, so quiet that I could hear Ranger breathing beside me, slow and steady, like a metronome keeping me sane. He laid his head on my armrest, and I swear in that moment, I felt more understood than I had in years. Somewhere between the city we escaped and the wilderness waiting ahead, I realized this wasn't about running away. It was about finding something. Something I'd buried under years of noise and responsibility. Maybe it was peace. Maybe it was freedom. Or maybe it was just the reminder that I was never really alone. Because out here, in the middle of nowhere, with snow falling and silence thick around us, I still had him, my best friend, my shadow, my reason to keep walking. Sometimes, the storm outside isn't what you're fighting. It's the one inside. And the only thing that gets you through it is the one who never leaves your side. The wind hit us like a freight train when we got there. Snow whipped sideways, sharp as glass, slicing through every layer I wore. I pulled the sled through waist-deep drifts, gear, tools, and the last fragments of the life I used to know. Ranger trotted beside me, his fur dusted white, eyes bright like blue steel. He didn't flinch, didn't slow, just stayed close, the same steady rhythm, step for step. I swear, sometimes it felt like he was the one leading me. We walked for what felt like forever. No sound but the crunch of snow and the beat of our breathing. Trees leaned under the weight of winter, branches bending low, whispering secrets we couldn't understand. My lungs burned, my shoulders ached, but every time I looked down, Ranger looked back, as if to say, "We're okay, keep going." When we finally found a small clearing near a frozen creek, I dropped my pack, chest heaving. "This is home," I said out loud, half to myself, half to him. He wagged his tail once, slow and sure. That was enough. The work began. I swung the axe into the first log, thud, crack, thud. The sound echoed through the trees, like a heartbeat returning after years of silence. Each swing sent sparks of heat through my arms. It wasn't just survival, it was therapy. Every strike felt like cutting through the noise I'd been carrying all my life. Ranger stayed close, circling me like a silent guardian. Every so often he'd stop, nose high, scanning the air. Then he'd glance at me again, ears flicked back a look that said, "I've got you covered." When my strength started to fade, I dropped the axe into the snow. Ranger came up beside me, tail wagging, and before I knew it, he shoved his nose into the snowbank and sneezed, sending white powder flying into the air. I laughed, the first real laugh I'd had in months. Yeah, "You're real helpful," I said, brushing snow off his face. He barked once, sharp and playful, and just like that, we weren't two survivors anymore. We were two kids, again chasing snowflakes, forgetting time. For a few minutes, the storm didn't matter. We ran. We rolled in the snow. He pounced. I dodged. Our laughter and his happy growls echoed through the frozen trees. It was pure, simple joy, the kind the city takes from you, without you even noticing. When the cold bit too deep, we went back to work. The tent finally stood firm against the wind, a small orange glow in a sea of white. I lit the stove. The first spark caught, and a small flame flickered to life gold, trembling, human. Outside, the blizzard screamed. Inside, we had warmth, a fragile, beautiful kind of peace. I boiled snow for water, threw in noodles, and a small cut of meat. The smell filled the air. Smoke, salt, comfort. I slid a piece toward Ranger. He didn't rush. He just looked at me, waited for a nod, then took it gently, his nose brushing my palm, a soft thank you without words. That simple moment, a meal shared in silence, felt holy. I'd spent years surrounded by people, but never felt this kind of understanding, this presence. Science says dogs can smell emotions, fear, sadness, even sickness. But I think it's deeper than that. They don't just sense what's wrong with us, they carry a piece of it, so we don't have to. The fire cracked softly. Outside, the wind roared like an ocean of ghosts, but inside, everything was still. Ranger lay beside me, his chest rising and falling in rhythm with the flames. I watched him for a while, his ears twitching, his paws moving in little dreams. He looked peaceful, safe, and for the first time in years, so did I. I stretched out my hand and laid it on his back. Warmth, steady, alive. His tail thumped once slow, and in that touch, I swear I felt something ancient. A memory older than both of us. A campfire flickering under starlight. A wolf stepping out from the dark, drawn not by hunger, but by hope. And just like that first wolf, Ranger had chosen to stay, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. That night, the storm hit harder. The wind howled through the valley, rattling the tent, making the canvas groan. Snow piled high outside, burying the world in silence. Inside, the fire burned low, casting soft amber light across our faces. I felt the weight of exhaustion pull me down. Ranger lifted his head, watched me for a moment, then stood, circled once, and lay down against my chest. I could feel his heartbeat through my jacket, steady, calm, real. My hand rested on his fur, and for the first time in so long, I didn't feel alone in the dark. The storm screamed above us, but inside that small circle of warmth, two souls breathed as one. I closed my eyes, and just before sleep took me, I whispered, "Thank you for finding me, buddy." Maybe he didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning. He always did. Outside, the snow buried our tracks, but I knew come morning, we'd carve new ones together, because that's what loyalty is. Not a leash, not commands. Just a promise to walk beside each other, no matter how cold the world gets. That night, the storm tested everything I had. But when I woke up, I realized it wasn't strength that got me through it. It was love. When I woke up, the world had gone still. The storm had passed, and the silence that followed was almost holy. The tent walls shimmered with a faint golden glow, light from a newborn sun slipping through thin fabric. I could hear the soft drip of melting snow. The slow, steady rhythm of the world, remembering how to breathe. Ranger was still asleep, his head resting on my boot, fur warm and damp from his breath. I watched him for a long time, thinking how strange it is the way peace often comes after you've stopped fighting for it. When I opened the tent, light flooded in. Sharp, white, endless. The storm had erased everything. Our tracks, our worries, the noise we brought with us. It was like the earth had pressed reset. Snow stretched for miles in every direction, sparkling under the morning sun like crushed diamonds. The air was so clean it almost burned my lungs, but I didn't mind. It felt like the first breath I'd taken in years. Ranger ran out ahead, leaping into the drifts, a blur of white against white. He barked once, just to hear his own voice echo through the valley, then turned back, tongue out, eyes bright, waiting for me to follow. So I did. I stepped into the snow, and each step left a new mark on untouched ground. A quiet reminder that moving forward doesn't always mean knowing where you're going. Only that you're willing to go. We climbed a small ridge overlooking the frozen forest. From up there, the world looked endless, untouched, unbroken, forgiving. I poured myself a cup of coffee from the tin mug, watched the steam curl upward, turning gold in the light. Ranger sat beside me, his fur glowing in the sunrise. Neither of us said anything. Of course, we didn't need to, because sometimes words only get in the way of what you already understand in your bones. I reached down and rested my hand on his neck. He leaned into it, slow, heavy, certain. And in that small motion, I felt something shift inside me. The man who had left the city tired, lost, drowning in noise wasn't the same man standing here. Out here, the world didn't care who I was. It only asked that I be, to breathe, to listen, to exist in the same silence that healed everything before me. Ranger looked up, snow clinging to his whiskers. Our eyes met, and for a moment, it felt like we were both remembering something ancient, something older than language or fire. That maybe, long ago, we promised each other we'd never walk this world alone. I smiled. Ready to move, buddy? He wagged his tail once, then started down the trail slow and sure, leaving two sets of footprints side by side. I watched him go for a second before following, feeling the sun warm my face through the cold. The storm had taken everything that didn't matter and left me what did. The silence, the snow, and a friend who never once turned away.